All the way back in September of 2011, I did a video entitled The Top 15 Reasons Why BioShock Infinite Rocks. Sure, the video quality wasn't that good, the audio was quite poor, and that futon, well, let's just say I'm glad I don't use it in my videos anymore. But in the midst of delays, employee changes at Irrational Games, and drastic changes to gameplay, that video I did all those months ago isn't as complete as I would have liked. So much so that I decided to do an entirely new video based on those changes alone. So without further ado, here are the top 15 more reasons BioShock Infinite rocks.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt. That was the deal. The details elude me now. But the details wouldn't change a goddamn thing.
Coming in at number 15 are the Boys of Silence. Now, the Boys of Silence are a blind enemy fitted with giant metal helmets that give them superior hearing. These helmets are styled to look like an eyeless face with a gaping mouth and have large funnel-like tubes protruding from both sides of their head. The purpose of the Boys of Silence are to provide surveillance and security within Columbia, and they are placed around the city strategically, and players will have to decide whether they want to sneak past them or engage them directly. And if one of them spots Booker, or is otherwise harmed or alarmed, they may call for backup. But other than that, we know very little about this enemy type. Coming in at number 14 is two weapons. Now, in previous BioShock games, you could carry as many weapons as you can hold, and while not realistic in the least, this did provide a certain level of comfort as you approached any given situation. Well, BioShock Infinite changes things up a little bit by only allowing the player to carry two weapons at a time. Not only is this a lot more realistic, but it'll require the player to think twice before picking up that shiny new weapon, because it's not only about the short game anymore, but also the long haul. Coming in at number 13 is mature themes. Now, the BioShock franchise has always been a mature-rated series, not just for the violence it portrays, but also for the issues it raises. Where the first BioShock delved into themes like genetic manipulation, socialism, and free will, BioShock Infinite's early 19th century setting will explore themes of class systems, racism, American expansionism, technological change, and the role of religious fanaticism in society. Players take note. This is a game that asks some very hard questions, and one that makes the story of how Columbia came to be that much more frightening. Coming in at number 12 are the collector's editions for BioShock Infinite. Now, two special editions will be released alongside the game across all platforms. The special edition will include the Art of BioShock Infinite mini art book, a 5x7 lithograph, a 3-inch Murder of Crows Vigor bottle keychain, a 25mm tall Handyman figurine, a digital soundtrack of the game, as well as exclusive DLC content such as 3 in-game gear power-ups, costume avatars, icons, and backgrounds. The Ultimate Songbird Edition, on the other hand, includes all of the above, as well as a 9 3/4 inch tall Songbird statue, all for the price of $149 US, a must-have for any diehard BioShock fan. Coming in at number 11 is the Siren. Now, the Siren is an enemy in Columbia that has the ability to resurrect the dead with the use of her shrieking voice. She resembles a ghost clad in glowing white and often floats above the floor, similar to the mythological figure known as the Banshee. The main challenge with her lies with who you decide to target and fight. If you decide to target her directly, you're still susceptible to the attacks of those she has resurrected. However, if you decide to attack those she has resurrected first, you're still susceptible to her attacks, as well as those of any she decides to resurrect in the meantime. All I can say is it's an interesting player dynamic, and I can't wait to see it firsthand in the game itself. Coming in at number 10 is a rechargeable shield. Now, in previous Bioshock games, you often had to search in and around Rapture for first aid kits or syringes if you wanted to regain your health. But this has been taken away in Bioshock Infinite in lieu of a rechargeable shield, similar to the Halo games. Now, the reasoning behind this was because Rapture lent much of its gameplay to fighting in tight corridors and confined spaces, making it easier to avoid enemies head-on. But as we all know, the city of Columbia is very vast, it's very open, and will require the player a lot more time in order to seek out enemies, especially if they're firing on all cylinders. Will it pay off? Who knows. But one thing is for certain, it will make gameplay a heck of a lot more interesting. Now, similar to the previous reason, coming in at number 9 is no first aid kits and no health packs. Now, not having any health packs or first aid kits on hand will drastically change how you play the game. Once your shield and health is gone, that's it, you're dead, though it's likely you'll respawn not far from your previous location. And while you will be able to purchase food items and health from nearby vending machines, there's no question that this change in gameplay will make you a much more cautious player as a result. Coming in at number 8 is the Motorized Patriot. Now, the Motorized Patriot is a creepy animatronic version of George Washington and represents a new enemy type in Bioshock Infinite. Originally built as tour guides for Columbia, these robots have since been reprogrammed to treat anyone as a possible threat and enemy. Now, several things set the Motorized Patriot apart from other enemies in the game. Firstly, they're completely fearless, and don't worry a bit about getting destroyed. Secondly, they can be reprogrammed by Booker in order to fight for him against other enemies. And third, they are equipped with a new weapon called the Peppermill Gatling Gun. Now, I think the Motorized Patriots are a fantastic addition to Bioshock Infinite, and really fit the tone that the game is trying to achieve. Coming in at number 7 is Hardcore Mode. Now, it should be noted that while cooperative and multiplayer modes have been removed from Bioshock Infinite completely, the game will feature an extremely hard difficulty setting known as 1999 mode. This mode really harkens back to games like System Shock 2, wherein decisions made by the player will have a much more permanent impact on the game, and might lead to an unwinnable situation down the line, in which case the player will have to load a previously saved game in order to continue. Is it a compromise? Sure, but it's still one that I can't wait to play. Coming in at number 6 is gear. Now, in addition to your weapons and vigors, previously known as plasmids, players will have an assortment of wearable gear with each piece having its own strengths and defenses. For instance, the Shock Jockey gives the player a 50% chance that they'll shock an enemy when they hit them with a melee weapon, while the Skyline Reloader automatically reloads your weapon whenever you jump on or off a skyline. While vigors are at a premium in this game, your gear augmentations will certainly enhance your playstyle, especially during the heat of battle. Coming in at number 5 is a real-time story. Now, while previous Bioshock games had the main character entering a fallen city, in this case Rapture, Bioshock Infinite takes Booker DeWitt into the floating city of Columbia as it slowly falls apart in real time. The tensions between the founding members of Columbia and the Vox Populi, or working class, have reached a boiling point, and civil war is all but certain. Unlike the previous games, where much of the story was told through audio recordings, players will have to keep their eyes and ears open as the story of Columbia unfolds around them. Coming in at number 4 is verticality. Now, when the first demos for Bioshock Infinite were released, many were skeptical that these feats were even possible. The sheer size and scale required for Columbia has presented a real challenge for the developers at Irrational Games. Giant floating platforms connected by mere skyline rails seem overwhelming when you look at them. Now, creative director Ken Levine has assured us that not only will this be possible, but also that the game will run at a smooth frame rate. Hopefully this will all go off without a hitch, and quite frankly, I can't wait to see how it plays in real time. Coming in at number 3 is possible cooperative and multiplayer modes. Now, in November 2012, it was reported that the cooperative mode for Bioshock Infinite would be dropped, and it wasn't too long after that the multiplayer mode for Bioshock Infinite was dropped as well. Now, this is mainly for my own personal wish fulfillment, but just because no cooperative modes or multiplayer modes are shipping with the game, doesn't mean that they won't become available sometime after the game is released. Now, I'm hoping once the game ships, they'll seriously consider taking their assets and continuing working on possible cooperative and multiplayer modes, even if they release it later on as a paid DLC. Coming in at number 2 is Booker DeWitt as a talking character. In the original Bioshock, you play Jack, an otherwise normal guy who finds himself stranded in the underwater city of Rapture after his plane crashes in the Atlantic Ocean. In Bioshock Infinite, you play Booker DeWitt, a former Pinkerton agent who's tasked with saving Elizabeth from the floating city of Columbia. One vital detail that separates Jack from Booker is that Booker is no longer a silent protagonist. Throughout the game, he'll continuously talk, commenting on the events around him as they happen, and if current trends are any indication, the days of the silent protagonist in video games may be over. And coming in at number 1 is Elizabeth. Now, a lot of you are probably quick to point out that Elizabeth was also on my previous list of the top 15 reasons why BioShock Infinite rocks. And you're right. But it's also a character that has seen more changes than anything else since the first demos of the game were released all the way back in September of 2010. For starters, her appearance. In the first demo, we see Elizabeth as a short-haired, blue-eyed girl with a rather busty figure in a very revealing dress. But in the latest trailers, she looks more like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, sporting longer hair, more modest attire, and part of her pinky finger missing. But it's not just her appearance that's changed, but also the way she interacts with the player, retrieving ammo, creating tears, and pointing out options to Booker that would have otherwise gone by unnoticed. As Elizabeth will be with you for most, if not all of the game, her importance in BioShock Infinite should not be understated, not just from a gameplay perspective, but also from a game development perspective. As one commentator put it, imagine Elizabeth being stuck in a wall, and because of that glitch, you couldn't move forward in the game. And while putting Elizabeth on both lists might be a cop-out, and maybe it is, there's certainly enough changes to her character that warrant her to take the top spot on this list. I want to hear what you have to say. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with it? Is there a reason why you want to play BioShock Infinite that I may have neglected to put on this list? Feel free to put a comment in the comment section below, and as always, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. As always, I'm the Millennium Gamer, signing off.